The NBA is known for its incredible athleticism, thrilling buzzer beaters, and jaw-dropping plays. But beneath the spectacular dunks and buzzer-beating shots, there's an undercurrent of controversy that can shift the course of a game in an instant. It's not always the players who make headlines. Sometimes it's the referees who steal the show, and not for the right reasons. Whether it's a blown call that decides the fate of a championship or a missed foul that ends up being the turning point, some decisions have left fans scratching their heads for years. Today, we're diving into the 10 most egregious referee calls in NBA history, where the men in stripes missed the mark and the consequences were huge. 2002 Western Conference Finals, Kings vs. Lakers, Game 6. Let's start with one of the most controversial moments in NBA history, a game that forever altered the way people view officiating in big games. Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals between the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Kings were leading the series 3-2 and were just moments away from clinching their first ever trip to the NBA Finals. But in a game that would go down in infamy, a series of questionable officiating decisions sparked outrage across the basketball world. The moment that sparked the most debate was a bizarre non-call on Kobe Bryant, who was accused of elbowing Mike Bibby in the face. Not only did Bryant avoid a foul call, but the Lakers ended up shooting a ridiculous 27 free throws in the fourth quarter, compared to just 9 for Sacramento. For many, this felt like a blatant tilt of the scales. The Lakers, despite trailing most of the game, somehow emerged victorious in this pivotal contest, leading many to believe that the referees had intervened in a way that dramatically altered the outcome. This moment remains one of the most discussed in NBA officiating history, as the Kings were left heartbroken, and many fans still believe they were robbed of a trip to the finals. 2006 NBA Finals, Heat vs. Mavericks, Game 5. Fast forward to the 2006 NBA Finals, and we find another instance where bad officiating became the talk of the town. In this case, it was a case of a one team getting the benefit of unbelievably generous calls. The game was incredibly close, with the Miami Heat and the Dallas Mavericks locked in a battle for supremacy. But as the game wore on, Dwyane Wade seemed to be drawing foul calls at every turn. Wade went to the free throw line 25 times in this game, a number that even the most optimistic Heat fans would agree seemed a little high. As the game came to a head, the referees made a series of questionable calls, including a particularly egregious foul on Dirk Nowitzki, a call that seemed to put the game out of reach. Wade's ability to rack up free throws at will became a central talking point, with critics suggesting that the Heat had an unfair advantage when it mattered most. In the end, Miami would go on to win the game and the series, but many still questioned the role that officiating played in their victory. 1994 Eastern Conference Finals, Bulls vs. Knicks, Game 5. Another pivotal moment in NBA history came in Game 5 of the 1994 Eastern Conference Finals between the Chicago Bulls and the New York Knicks. This game is most memorable for one call that has haunted fans and players alike for decades. With just 2.1 seconds remaining in a tied game, Scottie Pippen committed a foul on Hubert Davis, a relatively innocuous play that appeared to have minimal impact on the outcome of the shot. But the referees saw it differently and sent Davis to the line for 2 free throws. What followed was nothing short of shocking. Davis hit both free throws, giving the Knicks the lead and ultimately the game. In hindsight, it seemed as though the foul was a highly questionable decision, especially when considering the stakes. The call shifted the momentum in favor of the Knicks, and many feel that it prevented the Bulls from advancing to the finals that year. This moment would be immortalized as one of the most controversial foul calls in NBA history, further fueled by the fact that the game had a clear playoff atmosphere and tensions were running high. 2006 NBA Finals, Heat vs. Mavericks, Game 3, again. If you're starting to think that the 2006 NBA Finals were full of questionable calls, you're not wrong. Another moment of controversy came in Game 3, where Dirk Nowitzki was visibly frustrated by a lack of consistency in the calls being made. The Heat managed to draw a shocking number of fouls, particularly Dwyane Wade, whose drives to the basket were being met with aggressive defense by the Mavericks. But on several occasions, Wade was awarded free throws that appeared to be dubious at best, leaving Mavericks fans furious over what they perceived as inconsistent officiating. This game was a turning point in the series, and even though the Heat would go on to win the championship, many still point to these calls as a dark spot in an otherwise great finals. 2012 playoffs, Clippers vs. Grizzlies, Game 6. In the 2012 playoffs, the Los Angeles Clippers and the Memphis Grizzlies faced off in a high-stakes Game 6. The Clippers' lead was never truly safe and every possession mattered. That's when a bizarre incident caught everyone off guard. Reggie Evans of the Clippers was called for a technical foul for a high five. That's right, Evans had just celebrated a huge play with Blake Griffin by giving him a high five, and the referees decided to tag him with a technical foul. No actual violation occurred, just an enthusiastic exchange of high fives. Fans and analysts were baffled, with many calling it one of the most unnecessary technical fouls in NBA history. This call had no impact on the final outcome of the game, but it's a perfect example of how sometimes referees can overstep their bounds in ways that leave everyone confused. 2019 playoffs, Raptors vs. Trailblazers. A more recent moment of controversy happened in the 2019 playoffs during a regular season game between the Toronto Raptors and the Portland Trailblazers. In this game, Amir Johnson blatantly double-dribbled the ball without any whistle being blown. He even took it to the basket and scored a layup while violating a fundamental rule of the game. Despite clear video evidence showing that no call was made, the referees did not stop play. The broadcast crew and fans were left completely astonished by the oversight, and it sparked debates across basketball forums and social media. Johnson's double dribble became a symbol of how referees can sometimes miss even the most obvious violations in high-stakes moments. 1997 NBA Finals, Jazz vs. Bulls, Game 6. In Game 6 of the 1997 NBA Finals, Michael Jordan's final push for the Bulls in the clutch was overshadowed by a controversial foul call on Utah Jazz player Karl Malone. With seconds remaining in the game on the line, Malone was fouled in the post, and the refs made a seemingly questionable call on the play. The debate centered around whether Jordan's offensive play was truly a foul on Malone, or if he had been acting as a defender who made a legitimate attempt for the ball. The referee's decision put the Bulls in a position to win, sealing their 5th title and leading to one of the most memorable finals in NBA history. 2020 NBA Finals, Heat vs. Lakers, Game 5. In Game 5 of the 2020 NBA Finals, Jimmy Butler was awarded free throws after an apparent kick to the groin of Aaron Gordon while attempting a three-point shot. The call was reviewed and upheld by the referees, leaving many scratching their heads. Critics were quick to point out that the foul was excessive and perhaps too harsh considering the nature of the play. Many felt that the referees had made an overzealous call, especially at such a critical juncture in a championship series. 2010 playoffs, Suns vs. Trailblazers. In Game 5 of the 2010 playoffs, the Phoenix Suns were playing the Portland Trailblazers, and one of the most controversial calls came when Steve Nash was awarded free throws after an apparent non-contact foul by Marcus Camby. The call was widely criticized as unjustified, especially given that the replay seemed to show no physical contact between the two players. 2004 NBA Finals, Pistons vs. Lakers, Game 4. The 2004 NBA Finals between the Detroit Pistons and the Los Angeles Lakers saw a huge upset. But in Game 4, the referees were heavily criticized for a series of questionable calls, including a key non-call against Shaquille O'Neal that resulted in a 4-point swing for the Pistons in a crucial 4th quarter. Referee calls can make or break a game, and in some cases they've shifted the course of NBA history, whether through blown fouls, missed violations, or inconsistent officiating. These moments have shaped the narrative of some of the most iconic games in basketball. For fans, these calls will forever remain etched in their minds, serving as reminders that even in the fast-paced, high-stakes world of the NBA, no game is ever truly decided by the players alone. Want more deep dives into NBA history's most shocking moments? Subscribe now and join the conversation. Let's break down the game from all angles.